viewers to a new video. In this video specifically, we will be talking how to identify and draw supply and demand zones. As we know, many of you have a problem identifying, drawing them, etc., etc. So before starting this video, leave a like in the comments. Let us know if you like this video. Subscribe as well, so you can keep up with our videos and keep up with our new content. All right, so let's start this video. What is a supply and demand zone? A supply and demand zone is basically a level where we have seen lots of activity of big market players. Okay, so this is what we see at those supply or demand zone. So let's say, what is a supply zone? A supply zone is a level where we have seen strong selling happening. So basically, there was lots of market activity to the downside. And why is a supply zone interesting for us? Okay, it's interesting for us because we want to look for potential sales with these big market players. So how do we identify a supply zone? Okay, it's very, very easy. To identify a supply zone, we want to see basically price breaking something to the left. Okay, so breaking a previous low to the downside. And this can be on any time frame. This can be on the lower time frames, on the higher time frames. It doesn't really matter. It just depends which time frame makes part of your system. And how do you draw this? Okay, how do you draw the supply area? There is no one way of drawing a supply area. Most of the times people draw it where the selling started. And a good rule of thumb is to draw it at a candle that basically shows where the selling started. So this can be a pin bar or something like a doji. Okay, so this can be all candles that basically could be at origin or at the beginning of a big move to the downside. And how do you draw the supply area? So it can be drawn very, very easily. You take this low to the high. Okay, so you can draw it like this. Okay, this would be a way of drawing a right supply zone, or you draw it like this. Okay, can also be a valid way of drawing a supply zone. But the easiest time to draw it is basically when you have a pin bar. Okay, so basically if you have a bearish candle at the origin of the breakout structure. So ideally you would want to see it here, this pin bar. Okay, you will want to see the pin bar at the top. You draw it there, and then you wait for price to come back down into that area. Okay, so this would be a way of drawing a good supply area. Now let's get to the other zone that we can draw, that which is the demand area. Okay, so the demand area is basically the same thing but inverted. All right, so what do we have to see in a demand area? So let's say we are at your analysis time frame. This can be any time frame really. It depends on your trading system. And what you want to see in this case is basically price breaking a previous high. Okay, so if you see price breaking a previous high from a level, okay, so if you see this happening, price coming into this and breaking a previous high, okay, in this case this high right here, let's say this was a high, then we would validate our demand zone. So in this case we have seen a breakout structure at this point right here. So if we see a breakout structure at this point, this would validate our range. And why would it validate our range? Because we have seen here that the breakout structure, so basically the impulsive move, has started at this point. So eventually a lot of orders were executed at that same range here. Okay, so that would be the reasoning behind it. And this of course is a drawing. And how do we draw these? Okay, it's just like on a supply area. You want to see a bullish candle. In this case, it can be a bullish pin bar. Okay, it can be a doji too. Okay, so we could see a doji at the origin of a impulsive move to the upside, or it can be as well a bullish or bearish engulfing for supply zone, and a bullish engulfing for demand zone. So how do you draw it? It's the same thing as a supply. You use the whole candle, in this case in the pin bar, okay, or you draw it this way on a doji, or you use the whole candle. It's all based on preference. In each individual trader draws it differently. What's important is not how you draw it, is the level that you're aiming for. And the engulfing, you could have as well the whole range right here. But usually engulfings have much bigger zones, and there are ways where you can basically adjust these zones so you have a much more refined levels. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If you want us to show you guys examples, leave us a like, also in comments, and we will make sure to make a video showing you guys live examples of supply and demand zones and of potential supply and demand zones trades. All right, so have a good one, and see you in the next video.